All right. I believe we should be live now. Hello, friends, and welcome to the June live book discussion for the Midnight Society Book Club. Today, we submit for the approval of the Midnight Society Death in the Details by Katie Tietjen. I am joined here by some other creators. We have Mara from Books Like Whoa, and we have Lexi from Books with Lexi. Mara, before we get into all of this, Mara, I just want to let everyone else know, Mara did not finish, so she's going to be staying for the non-spoilery part, I believe, up to you. But I do want to talk about FGL with you for sure, Mara.
I'll stick around. I'm spoiler immune, so.
Okay, cool. Awesome then. Perfect. Let me get over here. Okay, so let's first say what this book is about. Do either of you feel comfortable giving a description, or would you like me to?
Lexi is the one who is like freshly up on what happens in this book.
Yeah. Are you with that, Lexi?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
what's her name? That's my issue.
Maple.
Okay, Maple. Yeah, so we are following Maple, and this is set in like just after World War II, and she has just lost her husband and finds out she's very broke. So her hobby is making very detailed, pretty much dollhouses, and she decides she's going to do that as her source of income. So she gets that all set up, and then she finds herself delivering a dollhouse and finds a man hanging in his barn. So then she is investigating a little bit because things aren't adding up. They have ruled it as a accidental suicide, and she's like, I don't think that's true. So then she decides to use her skills with dollhouses to recreate the scene. And then I think the synopsis spoils some stuff, so I'm not going to say the rest of that.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Perfect. Thank you. So that's the general gist of this. This is based off of the real life kind of true crime story of Frances Glessner Lee, which I want to talk about too. But before we get into that, why don't you, if y'all are watching on the live, let us know in the comments if you did read this. Let me see, what do I have in here? Yeah, if you read it, I have butterfly from one of the last ones, but why not? Let's do a butterfly and a heart if you have not. And then we'll just figure out where we're at with everyone in the comments. But and in the meantime, why don't y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves, tell us about your channel. Mara, do you want to start? Usually I just ask like, what kind of books do you like to read? What kind of like videos do you like to make? And what was your last 5-star read? Oh, you're muted. Hold on, you're muted.
Or am I sorry. No. It was me. I'm in a slump right now, so this will be interesting trying to remember what my last 5-star read was. So my name is Mara. I'm from Books Like Whoa. I would probably say I'm kind of like an omnivore in terms of books. I'll read pretty much anything. I'd say probably what I'm known for is more mystery thriller stuff and classics, romance. I mean, yeah, I kind of read it all. I do vlogs, I do discussions, whatever strikes my fancy. The last 5. Oh, okay. Actually, you know what? The last 5-star, the only 5-star read I've had this year, technically, was A Problem from Hell by Samantha Powers, which is about America in the age of genocide. So not a very cheery book, but a very enriching one. So,
that's nonfiction then?
Yes, it is nonfiction. It's basically like kind of demonstrating how the U.S. for the last 100 years has always known about the genocides going around the world and just doesn't do anything about it consistently. Wow. So it's a bummer, but it is very enriching.
Sounds really heavy. I will say, Mara, the only reason I know who
I'm reading a happy book I'm liking right now. Can't spell treason without T. This is lesbians setting up a bookstore in Fantasyland. So
that sounds lovely.
That's lighter. That's a lighter pitch for me.
You gotta have the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
I do want to mention the only reason I know who Frances Glessner Lee is because I watched one of your reviews for this book for Savage Appetite.
Yes, yeah.
And in this story, they talk about Frances Glessner Lee, and that like began my entire obsession with Frances Glessner Lee. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a great book. I forgot that she was in there. I'd also they've done a couple of like, I feel like History Chicks did a podcast episode about her. She's a cool lady. It seems like, or was a cool lady. Sure. R.I.P.
Yeah, she did a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. Lexi, do you want to go ahead and tell us about yourself and your channel? And
yeah, I primarily read horror and thrillers, some mystery, but it's usually like a mix of mystery and thriller, and some sci-fi. And I do a lot of like themed vlogs on my channel, a lot of readathon content, both like my own readathons and participating in other readathons. Yeah, mostly vlogs. I like things being broken up instead of a whole video of me at once. I mean, it's still me, but it's different me. So I don't know, in my brain, anyway, my last 5-star
like that, but it's so time consuming. Mm-hmm. And like coming up with a theme and all of that. Like I love doing that stuff, but I can't do it as often as I'd like because it just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a lot, but for me, it feels like less work than like prepping for a sit-down video. I don't know why.
I see what you mean because you can edit as you go, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was your most recent 5-star read?
I think it was Appetite for Innocence by Lucinda Berry. A very dark book. It's a man is kidnapping young children because he wants their innocence. It's disturbing.
Lexi, you and I are bringing great lighthearted vibes today.
I know. I was like, we're just gonna be like, how do I tell people that I loved this book?
I can add on to that because my most recent 5-star was Silence of the Lambs. Mm. I read
a classic.
Yeah, I had never actually read the book, and I finally read it this month, and I loved it. It was like my experience with Gone Girl because I had seen the movie before I read the book for that one. But I loved reading the book because it was the movie, but more, mm-hmm. And it follows the movie pretty closely as well. But you get more of the information and the motives. It was so good. Okay, well, what's next? Let's talk about the book. I suppose we should probably do that. Okay, so I do want to talk about Frances Glessner Lee. I think this is a good time to do that. So I actually I have a video from a year or two ago, probably 2 years ago, where I looked up some of FGL's nutshells. So Frances Glessner Lee, she was a debutante. She was born in Chicago in the late 1800s, maybe.
I think I want to say that she lived from like the 1880s to the 1960s ish. I think she lived to a nice ripe old age.
Yeah. And she obviously was a woman with a lot of wealth and privilege. So I do want to acknowledge that. But she also did so much for forensic science that people don't even know about. And it just boggles my mind. She took that privilege and she used it for good. And I love her so much for that. So yeah, she made these little nutshell dioramas. They were perfectly to size, to scale of crime scenes. And she made them with the intent to teach detectives and police officers to see detail in crime scenes, to not be biased when they walk in, to teach them to refine their eye when they're walking into a death investigation scene. And now they were I don't know if they still are. For a long time, they were in a museum and they're still out there today. And the answers are unknown, really, are meant to be unknown. I don't know. I'm sure some people know what the answers are for the actual crime scenes, what happened. But the fun part is trying to just guess. So anyway, that video I have is me just looking through them, and all of my guesses, I'm not good at this. So all of my guesses are probably terribly wrong, but it was just for fun. And that led me to read other books about Frances Glessner Lee, and just led me down this whole thing. So when I saw this book, I thought this woman is as obsessed with Frances Glessner Lee as I am, or she must be, which is why I wanted to read this for the book club in the first place. So Maple, I think, is supposed to be kind of a Frances Glessner Lee figure. And I don't typically like historical fiction, and especially books that are written during like World War II type stuff. So I was a little bit reticent about that going in. But I don't feel like that like bogged me down. That part didn't bother me. But I did see the connection to Frances Glessner Lee, and I like that. What did y'all think about, like, what were your expectations going into this, or any reservations you might have had?
I don't read historical fiction either. So whenever you asked about this, I was like, I'm down to read whatever, but I don't know how it's going to go. So that was my biggest reservation. I also don't know anything about, I forget her name. I'm so bad with names. Frances Glessner Lee. Yeah. I don't know anything about her other than this book and then hearing like little things from like the announcement video and things like that. So yeah, I also don't typically read like more standard mysteries either. So this one was like kind of in my comfort zone, but like slightly outside of it. So yeah, I'm always down to try things, but just the book as a whole is not something I would have picked up on my own.
Mm-hmm. I think like I'm kind of like in the middle because I am same. Like I don't typically go for historical either. But I do tend to like mysteries, like classic mysteries, classic like Agatha Christie style stuff like that. Though it's not the majority of what I read. But I know, Mara, that you read a lot of like cozy mystery type stuff, right?
Well, I read a lot of classic mystery, which sometimes is sort of like the protogenitors of cozy. Contemporary cozies can be a struggle for me. I often find them quite hi. Hi. Oh. Sorry, anytime cats are around, I get excited. So I wasn't sure how I was going to do with this just because often historical mysteries can get a little cozy and a little twee. But I found this not to be what I would think of as a cozy. Like it didn't feel like a Hallmark movie.
I get that. Yeah.
So I
was going to ask you that too, if you would have considered this cozy, because I don't have any experience with cozy per se.
The setup is cozy, but I didn't find the writing to be a typical cozy. So maybe it's kind of like cozy light.
Yeah, I can see that. I will read like a couple cozy mysteries, like maybe 3 a year. So yeah, it didn't feel as like cheesy as they feel, but like it felt kind of similar.
Yeah, I mean, like if it had been cheesier and there had been like some recipes thrown in, then it would have been a cozy. But I just didn't feel like that was the vibe exactly. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I was just thinking about something in the end, but I don't want to spoil it. We're in non-spoilers. Just in case for anybody that is watching, we are going to have a spoilery section later, but right now we're going to stick to non-spoilers for the time being. I will let you all know when we switch over to spoilers. Let me go ahead and take this banner down. Okay, so I was very interested in the actual crime scene in the book. So here's what I was thinking when I picked this book up. I was hoping that she was going to use Frances Glessner Lee's actual nutshell as the nutshell in the book.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Right. And then as you're reading it, you can reference it literally, like the picture online. You can find it and like reference the actual nutshell as she's describing it. So I was really hoping that was going to be the case. And it would be like her interpretation of Frances Glessner Lee's nutshell. But I don't think that is how it turned out, because there were some differences in the crime scene in the book and in FGL's crime scene that were pretty distinctive. The first one was that in the book, in the crime scene in the barn, and we're talking about the barn scene with the man hanging him, who had supposedly hung himself. I think it's hung in that instance.
I'm not sure.
That's a tricky one.
English is hard.
Yeah. But anyway, the one in the book, there was no box under his feet. In FGL's actual nutshell, there is a box that he had been standing on or something. Also in the book, the man who was in the barn had a prosthetic leg, and you can't really tell from the pictures I've seen of FGL's actual one, but it didn't look to me like there would be any kind of sign of a prosthetic leg or anything like that. But his feet are kind of like in the box, so it's kind of hard to tell.
That would have been cool. I don't know, because I did this first as audio and then in Kindle. Did they include a picture of like a nutshell? Because that would have been a really cool.
It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, like a multimedia kind of aspect to it. To like, that would have been really cool if they'd like printed whatever their version of this nutshell would have been.
Oh, yeah. That would have been cool. And even if it was like out of a newspaper or something, because there are like reporters in this story too, and who are doing pieces on Maple and her dollhouses. So it could have been like a picture of the dollhouse, like it was in a newspaper or something.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that as I was reading this, that disappointed me the most, I think, was that I felt like there were so many opportunities in here to like tie back more so in that way, stuff like that were not necessarily taken advantage of. I think the concept of this is so cool, and I love it just for that. But my rating for this is not going to be great. But that said, like, I still appreciate it and like it. I think the thing is, like, Katie Tietjen and I both have this same obsession with Frances Glessner Lee. And like, that's one thing that's really cool about books, is that like we have this connection through this story and this person. And she's now like made it into something physical that you can hold. But I don't think Katie Tietjen and I read the same books. You know what I mean? Like, I would have liked this to be darker.
Yes.
But that's just so yeah, I'm guessing did you, Lexi, see any of the pictures of the crime scene? Maybe I should pull it up real quick.
It's pretty cool. I tried to find a coffee table book with all the different crime scenes in it, and I think they did publish one, but it's out of print. So,
oh no, that would be so cool.
But wouldn't that be? I feel like that would be a really cool coffee table book to have around.
Yeah, I would buy that.
No.
Okay, let me see here. Okay, yeah, I have it pulled up right here. We'll see how well. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it.
Oh my gosh,
this is
that's impressive,
right?
Oh my gosh,
like they were so detailed, so like hours and hours and hours she would put into these of just the tiniest minute details, and that's the like homage that Katie Tietjen is paying her with this, is the like seeing what's big in what's small, and like the whole concept of this. So I think she did, to an extent, do something cool here. I just don't think it's like everything
I wanted more from like the dioramas and stuff. Like, I wanted it to be more involved in the story, and I think it was kind of like it was her, I guess, backstory to get her into the situation, but I feel like it wasn't utilized as much as it could have been, like in the actual solving of the case.
I totally agree.
I wonder some of the framing could have been changed a little bit. Like, well, first of all, it really bothered me that her husband went to war knowing he was leaving her potentially in a situation where she would be destitute if he died. That just out the gate very much bothered me. But anyway, but I wonder if like she had been more established as like a known doll maker or like a diorama maker, like she was like known for it, and maybe like she gets really obsessed with this local crime, but like it's kind of already a known thing, and then like they find out that she's really interested and ask her to make it, and like she's like maybe that angle would have let her, I don't know, I feel like that might have been a little bit more of a successful premise.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that point. There were a couple other things too that I felt like, oh, if it had been just like this, or if we had done this. I do like the themes though of the like how she's really trying to paint a picture of how life for women was during this time, and how our alliances can change when we know the context of their circumstances, and when how we can relate to that even now. So I felt like she did a good job of putting that in with like all of the. Okay, we're not getting into spoilers yet, but I guess just like her finding out that she is destitute, and then having to stand up and say, okay, now I have to figure out how to make money, and saying like showing that she can do it for herself, that she didn't need him, but also she took it a lot better than I would have.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? That immediately soured me on the premise. I was like, what is Bill is a oh yeah, we can swear, is a fucking piece of shit. Like
I was like, what, how did you just like not even like being mad at Bill, but that too, but also like her just like not, she didn't wallow in the tiniest bit. She was like, okay, big girl pants, what are we gonna do? And she made a plan and she moved forward. And I think if this had been a little bit more fleshed out, there would have been more of a period there where she like broke down a little bit more, because she was just like so had it together. And I'm like, I would have lost my shit, I would have like,
I would have needed 7 business days to lay in my bed and process things.
At least.
Well, especially in the time period, because like she is screwed. Like it is so much more difficult for women to like be financially independent in that time. Like that is life ruining news. And she just was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, she is a lawyer too. Like she does. But then I don't know, that was kind of weird to me. Like I understand in that town, like no one was going to hire her or whatever, but it just felt, I don't know, it was not weird that she was a lawyer, but it just felt a little random.
Yeah, do we find out why she, like in what I read, we didn't really know why she chose to do that. Do we know why she went to law school?
I don't think so. I don't think
that's another weird backstory choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in Frances Glessner Lee's real life, she had wanted to go to school, and her parents didn't want her to, or something.
I think that's right.
So maybe like that was why she had her do that. Like maybe she wanted to give Maple the opportunity to do that in the story. I don't know.
But why? Like, I don't know. Or that could be if she wanted to go for like more of a Murder, She Wrote cozy vibe. That's an eccentric detective. She's a lawyer who also is obsessed with making dioramas, and that's how she like proves people innocent. That's like her shtick. Like that would have pulled that together a little bit more. I don't know. I didn't Maple I struggled with as a character, I guess, is kind of what it comes down to, of like the setup for her and kind of like where she found herself in the story. I wasn't vibing.
I completely agree with that. I thought that there were some moments where Maple's didn't fully feel like fleshed out to me too. I lost my train of thought. What did you just say about her?
Just like her backstory and sort of who she was coming into this situation didn't all come together, I think, for me. Like the character didn't, and the character and the responses didn't match the plot, I guess maybe is the way to say it. Or if it didn't feel like a comfortable, natural.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. You had talked about if it had been like quirky.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was on the line with that the whole time, because there were little things that Maple would do where I was like, is she neurodivergent? Like, is she like, going to be a like Sherlock Holmes type character where she's like quirky and eccentric and whatever? And I don't think she ever fully got there, but there were moments where she played with that idea, and I think maybe that got lost in editing, or like some pieces got pulled back and it just didn't hit as strong. Or
I think it kind of was neither. It wasn't enough of either version of her either being straight or being quirky, and I couldn't quite tell. Again, I didn't finish, so I don't know, but from what I read, I couldn't quite tell what the intent was.
Let's talk about our ratings. Let's just go ahead and talk about that. Do you rate books if you don't finish them, Mara?
I would say this was on trajectory to get either a 3 or a 3.5 from me, depending on how much I liked the ending. Like to me, a 3 is a B. Like I thought this was fine. The writing was fine. I was enjoying it well enough when I wasn't dissociating. Like it was fine, but it wasn't like blowing me away.
I can see that for sure. What did you end up giving this, Lexi?
I think a 3. There were parts that I really enjoyed, but it's also like, did I enjoy the concept of it more than the execution? But when I was reading it, I didn't have any issues. But like, if I would put it down, I didn't need to get back into it.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it wasn't like fully drawing me either. Although I did read this really quickly. I think I read it in like 2 sittings. I listened as well, but I also had this to reference, which was nice. And then I like it for the concept. And honestly, like I think my ratings have been getting a little more harsh over time. And because to me, I felt like you were saying, Mara, that the writing was good. Like it was good. And I think this is her debut. There were a few things in here where
yeah, it's very good for a debut, I think.
Yeah, there were a few things that she meant. I think it was 3 times she said some sort of phrase along the lines of releasing the breath. She didn't know she was like that.
Yep, and I caught on to that.
It was at least 3 times. And I was like, okay, we should have gotten rid of at least 2 of those.
Okay, I will say, as an anxious Annie, I do this in real life. Now, is it related to a boy or in a love triangle? No, it's in relation to stress, but I do sometimes release breaths after that holding.
I don't think I've ever actually experienced that feeling of like.
I definitely have.
Yeah.
Normally for me, it's I released my teeth that I didn't know I was clenching or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
That should be the new phrase.
I asked my doctor about it once. I was like, I find myself holding my breath unconsciously a lot. Is that weird? And she's like, well, you have anxiety, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well,
wow.
There you go. Like that's what that is. I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting. Well, I have anxiety too. It's funny how it shows up differently in different people.
Yeah.
And you hold it differently, you know? Oh man, rough. So yeah, as far as the writing goes, I thought like other than that few like nitpicky thing, I thought that she, she's a good writer, and I'm really interested to see in how she's going to keep this series going, because this is a series. And I think she's going to pick a different one of FGL's nutshells to focus on with each book. Or at least I hope that's what she does, even if it's not exactly like this one wasn't exact. I hope she still picks one that looks like starts the story with that, or like the idea of the story starting with the nutshell, the actual nutshell.
That was going to be one of my questions, is if you guys thought this was the beginning of a series, because I think I probably have more room for its pacing if it is. Like, this is probably her, like, setting up the world and the characters. And
the synopsis says it's a stunning series debut.
Okay. I would check back in on the series when it's a few books in to see how, like, if it's found its feet a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up giving it 2.5 or 3 stars. That's kind of where I've been wavering, 2.5 and 3. Because I do think, usually I say if it's 3 or higher, I would recommend it. And I don't want to say I would not recommend this one. So I'm going to go with a 3-star. I think that feels appropriate after kind of discussing it with y'all. So yeah, there's that. And let us know in the comments what you rated this as well, if you did finish it. Writing style, ratings. Okay, so let's talk about comp titles. I know we've had a few in the comments here that I am already want to talk about. So let's go ahead and talk about these. Obviously, Savage Appetites, I already mentioned. This is 4 true stories of women, crime, and obsession. And somebody else mentioned something in the comments about this one. I think there was some controversial stuff in here. And I can't recall the exact details of it. Like it had gotten some bad feedback about something. I don't recall what it was though. But I really liked this, and FGL was one of these. And then the other one is 1810 Deaths by Bruce Goldfarb, and this is just all about Frances Glessner Lee. The untold story of Frances Glessner Lee and the invention of modern forensics, and it goes into her life as a child, and like when she got older, she donated all of this money to Harvard to create, helped to create some kind. I can't remember what.
I think it was like the first university level studying of forensic science, and I think they were partnering with the local police, like maybe like the local state police or something, to do training there and then study forensics, something like that.
She did that, and then she also was then later made a police captain, and she was one of the reasons why we have medical examiners in modern day, because they didn't have those in her time, and she was like, we need to have a death investigation. So yeah, there's those two. Do y'all have any other ones that you want to mention, or it could be like movies, books, anything that if they like this, they might like something else?
I honestly don't think I have any. This is very different from what I usually read. So I was sitting here thinking, I was like, I cannot think of a single thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that's historical and cozy. I mean, the most recent historical cozy-ish type book I really enjoyed was the Ellis Peters Brother Cadfael series, which I'm going to read more in. But it's that one is I call him a monk who fucks. He's a monk in the Middle Ages, and he came back from the Crusades and has lived a life and is now a monk and solving crimes.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I don't read a ton of historical, I struggle with historical mysteries. I'm kind of picky about them.
Yeah. If I read historical stuff, I like stuff from the 50s and 60s, and then I like stuff from 80s and 90s, but really there's not a whole lot in between that I want to revisit. Maybe the 80s, but not really older than that. I don't want really anything that's not in the 1900s for sure.
I I don't know. I mean, I really love Sherlock Holmes, the OG, and then I do enjoy the retelling. So maybe some of that, I guess, is technically historical mystery, but
yeah, I've still never read any of the Sherlock Holmes. I need to. Which one is there one to start with?
I mean, they're short stories for the most part, so I just say grab a best of Sherlock compilation, or you could do Sign of the Baskerville or Hound of the Baskerville, Sign of the something. Okay. I'm not remembering right now, but
all right, I'll look it up. I love Brother Cadfael. Who's that?
Oh, that's the monk who fucks.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. Love historical fiction, but there has to be mystery or some kind of speculative or adventure element. 100%. I can do it. What did I read recently? Una Out of Order. And that one's throughout the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. And I loved all of that. But it had that speculative element where she's going through time. If it has time travel, I'm down. I don't care where I'm down for time travel.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, well, I think we should probably get into spoilers. And Mara, you said you're going to stick around for spoilers. You don't mind?
Yeah, spoil away.
Okay. All right, so anyone who is in here who is wanting to read this, who does not want to be spoiled, now is your time to exit. We are going to talk about some spoilers and then more details about what happened in the story, and then we will wrap it up. So let's see. Spoilers. Okay, so...
can I guess who done it?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay,
based on very limited retention, but I think it's the police chief.
Oh, interesting. It was not.
Okay. Well, he seemed like an asshole, which was basically the only reason I suspected him.
He did, actually, and I kind of had an issue with that, the way he was portrayed, because he ended up being the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that, like, Maple was trying to, like, keep delving into this. And at first he was like, oh, nobody cares. It's a suicide. We're not going to look into it. Da, 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 da. And then, like, halfway through the story, he gets this, like, indignant, like, I don't know. He gets, like, starts feeling like he has this, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Mandate?
Yeah, like, he then gets all up in arms because Maple suggests that he didn't care about, like, justice or whatever. And he's like, I
did not.
Justice.
He in fact did not care about justice. I was there. I saw it.
Yeah. But no, it turns out, like, he was just like he was distracted about something, and he really does care about making sure justice is carried through. And he's this big guy, like this guy with this big heart and yada, yada, yada. And the Kenny guy is his nephew, I think. Mm-hmm. The guy who was like his co-captain or whatever he was, deputy. So yeah, I was kind of weird about, like, he did have kind of a full 180, the sheriff, but no, it was actually, it was a duo mashup of the guy who was about to take over for the sheriff, the guy, what was his name? Oh geez, hold on.
Okay, well, at least I was right. It was in the force.
Yeah, and along with the wife of the guy who died, they, like, conspired together.
Oh, yeah. You always gotta look at the wife. Was he banging her, or what? Why would they end together?
Well, he convinced her that he loved her, and they were banging. And then afterwards, he was like, "No, I wasn't going to." He was just going to take off with all the sugar. It was like a sugar. A sugar scandal. So, like,
yeah, there's like
there's this underground black market sugar ring.
Because of the rationing in the war?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of the rationing in the war, so there were people who were sneaking around all this sugar and making money off of it. And so that was like the first clue when Ginger, the, like, enemy lady who was mad because Maple didn't come to her sewing circle, she brought over cookies, and they were like, I swear this tastes like sugar. And because she had sugar. And she later goes missing, and they have to find her then.
Oh.
And that part's in the synopsis.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen until 50 or 60% in. I'm like, why did you do this?
Yeah.
They do that. Okay. Pet peeve, as fellow readers of thrillers, I think we can all at least... I am so tired of them not trusting us to be interested in these stories. Like, don't spoil them for us on the back.
Oh.
Like, trust that we're going to be interested in it. And don't tell us, like, don't do that prologue thing they do now, where it's like, here's where it's going to get exciting. Hang in there. And it's like, dude, it's a thriller. I get that eventually there's going to be thrills. Like, just trust me to be patient enough to get there.
I get that, but I also think that it's really hard to put enough. Like, that's a fine line, putting enough but not too much in the synopsis.
Yeah.
But I do think people get carried away with it a lot of times. And you're right, don't trust the readers to. But sometimes, like, if it's the twist, you just can't. What was that book I read recently? Oh gosh, it's got like a moon on it. Oh, not Middle of the Night. That's Riley Sager. I'll think of it later. But yeah, the twist is the interesting part. So you can't say it. The other side of night. That's it. You can't say it while you're giving the description without giving anything away. So, like, there's situations like that where I don't think that book's going to find its reader because you can't say what it's really about in the synopsis. So there's both sides.
Well, if you tell me it's a thriller or a mystery, I'm going to trust that someone's going to die eventually. I guess that's my pet peeve is like,
yeah, you're right.
If it takes a while, that's okay. I know it's coming. As long as it's not like 80% of the way in the book, that's fine.
Until someone dies.
Yeah.
I think that guy was the only one who actually died in this one because what's her name was still alive, the friend. Ginger. Ginger Comstock. So yeah, there were a lot of characters. Okay, and my question I have about Ben. So Ben owns the like hardware store where she goes to buy all of her dollhouse parts, and he ends up offering her to like let her use his store to work there and then maybe drum up a little business for him as well. And I thought that there was going to be like a romantic element there between the two of them, and then there wasn't. And then at the very end, they're like, oh, by the way, maybe there's a little bit of a romantic feeling. And I'm like, what was the point of Ben in this entire story? Like, it could have been, she didn't need that hardware store. So that's why I think that his character is going to come into play in the next installment.
I agree.
But it did feel like he was kind of pointless in this story. Like, he didn't really serve much purpose.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. What else?
Lexi, what did you think about the end?
It was fine. There was nothing that really like shocked me or blew my mind, but like I wasn't annoyed at anything. The sugar thing was kind of funny to me. Like I get it in that time period, like whatever, but I was like, we're doing this over sugar. But I guess if you're making a lot of money, then yeah, it just yeah, because it was like a whole thing within like he had just taken out a life insurance policy or something, and if he got, or it was extra money if it was an accident versus something else, but if it was a suicide, then there was no money given to her.
Oh yeah, it had to be. It was like a double indemnity if it was an accident. They got like double the money. And that's why they tried to stage it to look like that.
Yeah, because initially they were going to do something else, but then Rawlings and the guy got into like a tussle on top of the like the loft in the barn, and like, or no, it wasn't up there, but they put him up there because Rawlings just strangled him, and they were like, well, we have to cover this up. So they were like, well, make it look like a hanging because of that. So it felt very standard to me. I had no like complaints, but also it didn't impact me at all.
Yeah. I was hoping, like we kind of touched on this earlier, but I was hoping that the nutshells were going to be more than just dollhouses. And I was hoping that like the solving of the case was going to rely upon that nutshell more than it did. I think there was one thing that Kenny had noticed about it from her diorama that they had like come up with a lead from. But other than that, there was no other tie really to the nutshell. I wish that it had been like, oh, well, now all the other women in this town are, you know, getting more interested in forensics, and they're stealing their kids' dollhouses so that they can like build crime scenes. And like, I wanted to see it like catch on or something and like show that like women being interested in forensics at the end of it. But it didn't really do that.
Yeah, the dollhouse was like, I really wish it was incorporated more. It almost felt like the thing that mattered more was her photographic memory.
Yes. Okay. That was another small thing, actually, the photographic memory. And that was why I thought it was going to go quirky too, because she supposedly can remember every detail of everything. But then a lot of the times when she was talking about her husband too, she was saying about how she was forgetting what he looked like, and she was feeling guilty over the fact that she didn't miss him as much as she thought she should. And I'm thinking, like, lady, if you have a photographic memory, how can you forget what anyone looks like? Is that possible? I don't think it is, right?
I don't think so. It was.
I don't think so. I also, yeah. I would also not be grieving him if he left me in that situation. So that seems relatable to me. That seems pretty reasonable.
I feel like she was more upset about her brother. She kept just bringing up the fact that her brother died. But also, I feel like there's no real backstory with that. It was just like, oh, my brother died and I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
thought there was going to be some kind of reveal about that too.
Yeah.
I still am confused about how he even died, other than the fact that he was arrested for something and put in a jail cell, and then he died in the jail cell. That's like all of the details that I remember of that. So I don't know if like one of the other inmates attacked him or something, but she was mad at the police that they couldn't protect him in that situation.
Well, she's got that jacket she's wearing of his that has his blood in it. So like,
Yeah.
something went down.
Yeah. But I feel like we didn't get any real details on that unless I just blocked that out. But
I could have glossed over that too. I don't know, but that was something I was thinking about when I finished.
Yeah, she's just sniffing his bloody jacket. I'm like, okay. She's like, it smells like him. I'm like, if there's blood on it, how does that smell good?
Yeah. Maple's she's a hard nut to crack. I don't know that she's
it's appropriate.
A super. Oh yeah, I didn't even mean that. But yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say when there's something about her character that doesn't totally come together, I think.
Yeah, it's like almost there, but not quite. They're just little moments that don't quite come together. One thing, though, I did like is that they deputized her at the end. They deputized her, and then I'm wondering if that's a nod, like I was saying before, to FGL being police captain. And maybe in future installments, Maple will become police captain. Who knows?
Maybe.
Let's see.
She was obsessed with Kraft mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was mentioned. So I was like, when was this invented? Some of the reviews that I looked at were like, there were some like inaccuracies where they would like mention pantyhose, but those weren't invented until like 10 years later or something. But I was like, when did Kraft mac and cheese like start being a thing? Apparently it was like 5 years before it was like actually accurate. But it was like a brand new thing that she was like obsessed with Kraft mac and cheese.
Relatable queen.
But it was just like so funny that I think it was like 3 or 4 times that it was Kraft mac and cheese was brought up. She's like, I could get 3 meals for 19 cents. And I'm like,
I wish.
That's
but
so
then
funny.
she like even named the cat Mac off of the mac and cheese. And those little moments, were where it started feeling a little bit twee, like you were saying, Mara, where I was like, oh, is it going to go there? But it didn't. It didn't quite go there.
I'm stuck on there weren't pantyhose. I guess that's right. Like they had nylon, so it's like
I think it's just like the name of it. But I saw like 3 reviews that brought up pantyhose.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I would not have noticed that, but that is.
I didn't catch on to that part. I just picked up on the mac and cheese love.
What else? Oh, but like I will say though that like the whole World War II thing that I was worried about going into it, like that didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. And in fact, most of the time while I was reading it, like you don't feel any specified place in time. Like she's in a hardware store, she's building a dollhouse, she's in a barn. Like sure, no one has like cell phones or anything, but like there's nothing other than the fact that they're like the sugar rations, and they mention the Nuremberg trials several times. Other than those things, like really it does feel like it could be set in any place in time. So it didn't feel like bogged down for me anyway with like war stuff, even though it gave enough context to understand.
Yeah, I agree. It almost was like the opposite where I forgot, like I completely forgot we were in this time period. And then they would be like, oh yeah, this whole thing was $3. And I was like, what? And then I would remember the time period we were in.
Yeah,
I would not say she was going for like a high degree of historical verisimilitude. Like I don't know that was the focus of the setting.
Say that again.
That was a big word.
Well, like, or I guess like historical accuracy.
Okay.
Like that's not really. I don't think that was what she was going for. It seems like, or like, or verisimilitude meaning like it feels like you're in the past.
Oh.
Like I don't think she was trying to like evoke like the writing of the time or like the turns of phrase of the time. I think she just sort of like plopped them down in that time period and kind of let them
live.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that makes total sense. Really do like the cover. I like the cover too. I think it's really cute. The more you look at it, it's got the little noose in there and the skull and the roses. I asked, I was trying to make like a background for this, and I put uploaded the book cover into Canva and I asked it to expand it so it would cover like the whole screen or whatever. I do like a synopsis, and it put in some random picture of like an Asian man just standing on the side of it, and I was like, man, this is why
it was Ben or whatever his name was.
It was the hardware store.
Yeah. Because I remember them making comments. He was like half, was it Japanese or something? So like he was an outsider in the town.
Oh, because it's after World War II.
Yes.
And
yeah. So it was just Ben. I don't think he was
Ben coming popping in to say hi. But no, like I was like, this is why we still need like real artists, because like I don't know where AI thought, like looked at this cover and then there was just like a random Asian man over here, just his whole from like the waist up, just like.
I remember that in your story. It's so funny.
Any man, like why? I don't know. That was weird.
That is very funny.
Anything else that y'all want to touch on that we haven't already discussed about the book? Or let's see what's in here. The chief was a red herring. I don't know how far back I am right now. She even named that cat after it. Oh yeah, Mac. Oh, we said at the same time.
Adorable.
I'm just glad nothing bad happened to the cat. I'm always worried about that in books. I was trying to remember that actually, because I was thinking that the cat died, but that was a different book that I read this month, I think. And they're blurring. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we could probably wrap it up. Before we do that, I do have a couple questions for y'all. I want to know what your current hyperfixations are. Like if there's something that you've been really into lately that's maybe not related to books, or even if it is books, a show that you've been watching, or like what is it that you're just like really obsessed with right now? Anyone can start. If you have anything.
I'm hyperfixated on knitting. That's what my brain can handle right now. While I'm knitting, I'm watching Dropout TV. I'm obsessed with like everything on there.
What's Dropout TV?
It's College Humor's new, like their evolution into a streaming service, but it's actually amazing. Like it's got all of these improv shows on it, and like game shows and live action D&D, which I didn't think was for me, but turns out it is. So it's just so good. So good. And then Time Team is my other obsession, which YouTube served to me. And it's archaeologists going around the UK, like digging exploratory trenches and like finding monasteries under car parks and stuff. So I'm fully descending into my middle age is basically what I'm saying.
I love it.
Yes.
What about you, Lexi? Anything you're obsessed with right now?
I've found myself very into celebrity drama for some reason, for like no reason, like JoJo Siwa.
So fun to hate.
Right? Yeah. So there's been like specifically that, and then the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef.
Obsessed.
All of that, like
I don't know about that one.
Oh, it's a whole thing.
It was a time.
It was details of it.
Yeah, I like accidentally watched videos until like 3 a.m, like whenever I found out about it. Like it was so just like random celebrity drama that like does not impact me in any way, but I just like stumble upon it and then I need to know every detail. So
I'm right there with you.
I relate on the JoJo Siwa one because my 7-year-old literally listens to JoJo Siwa every morning. It's her alarm clock in the morning. So I hear JoJo Siwa every day.
Is it Karma's a Bitch? Is that the song?
But you know what? When that song came out, it would play that one first. And she was like, that song came on that I'm not supposed to hear. I'm a little bit more lax about like swear words. I mean, I don't want her to swear. She knows that like that's for adults or whatever. But like, her mom doesn't want. She's my stepdaughter. Her mom doesn't want her to listen to that song, which is fine. So I'm like, okay, we don't have to listen to that. But yeah, I guess I'm like, okay, we'll switch it or whatever. But JoJo Siwa is
she's a bad girl now.
She has a new song coming out, so be on the lookout for that.
Oh no, her lack of self-awareness is pretty astounding.
Oh yeah, yep. The new music video is construction workers. So I forget what it's called, but I think it's supposed to come out like very soon, so we should start seeing more JoJo Siwa content.
No, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
I know she invented gay pop, but
yeah, she definitely did that.
Totally.
So JoJo Siwa is my latest obsession, I guess, but not in the way that it's good.
In popcorn eating way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had my like Bridgerton obsession, of course, this month. The second one came out and I binged it all. And I'm just like at work, have you watched it yet? Have you watched Bridgerton? Like, about Bridgerton. So I actually read the book for this one because after the first 2 seasons came out, I was like, I need to know Penelope's story. And then the next season was the Queen. So it wasn't even like I had to wait like 2 years. Like, I'm just going to read the book. And I didn't read any of the other Bridgerton books, but I read Penelope's book. And so I actually like forgot that I had read it, or like forgot that I knew things that were unfolding. And so when I saw that, I was like, but we already knew that. And then I realized, oh no, I already knew that, but everyone else didn't that just watched it.
New news to others, but not to you.
Yes. Yeah. So I've been, obsessing with that, and like other like TV shows I've been watching a lot of. There's that one on it's either Apple TV or Amazon Prime with Jake Gyllenhaal, the like lawyery one where he's a defense attorney and he's then accused of killing his partner. And it's based off a book too. And that one's really good. There's a few episodes of that out. Also Dark Matter adaptation.
I haven't watched it yet. I cannot wait.
Is it good?
It's pretty good. It's all right. I got pretty into it, and then it started getting a little out there. And I've read the book, but it's been years. And so I'm not caught up on like the last couple episodes, but I have enjoyed it. Yeah. I like the guy that they cast for it.
Did they adapt a different Blake Crouch book previously?
Yeah, they did Pines.
Okay,
yeah,
that's right.
And Blake Crouch was a show. Well, he wrote on the first season, and then the second season he did not, and they strayed away from the books, and then they canceled it. So, but he is, I think, the showrunner for Dark Matter.
Oh,
yeah, I think he's the producer. I think he wrote the screenplay. I think he did all of the things, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I'm excited for it because of that.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see, what else? I do want to tell y'all really quickly about next month before we go. Let me pull up my stuff here. Okay. So next month we're going to be reading Horror Movie. This is by Paul Tremblay, and I'm going to be joined for this live show by Gabby from Gabby Reads and Ashley from Ashley's Little Library.
Nice.
Go ahead and pick that up. We're going to probably read it for Summerween coming up on the 5th, I believe, is Summerween. And then in August, we're reading... Oh, I have this one too. Hold on. In August, we're reading The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. I've never read this one. I love books that are like inspired by this and stories that have this kind of theme. And so this one just came out. They just came out with an audiobook for this. I think in March it was released finally. So it's time to do it. We're reading this one in August. And then in September, this one's not out yet, but it comes out in August. It's called The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. And that one's supposed to be really weird. It's about this journalist or reporter. She gets called to this small town where there's this story or rumor going around where a horse has given birth to a live human boy. And she gets there and finds 2 bodies, a horse and a human. And there's some kind of story to be unraveled. I have no idea. It's going to be weird. It's supposed to be, it's going to be weird as hell, but I'm excited for that one. That's going to be it. For next month, we do need to tally up. Oh my gosh, I didn't do the math. Who's good at math? Our scores. So what did you say you gave this, Mara? 3?
I'll give it, based on what I read, I would give it 3, but I don't know if mine should count since I didn't finish.
Maybe not. And then Lexi, what did you say?
3.
You gave 3. Okay, well, I gave it 3 too. So the average is 3 no matter what, which means it is accepted into the Midnight Society Book Club. Yay!
Yay!
Crowd roar. So yeah, this one will be accepted in perfect. I had to deny one last month February, and that was rough. I don't like doing that. But I will.
Hey, the rules are the rules. Like,
are the rules.
If you don't follow them, what is the integrity of the induction process?
Right? Right. There's no honor then.
Yeah.
There has to be honor that comes with this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, both of you. I really, really appreciate you. I think this is actually pretty well rounded considering our genres all overlap, but then they also like each have our own kind of unique points. This was a fun one. I will probably continue on, but I will have to like maybe it's not going to be like an immediate pick it up, but I'm intrigued. I'm curious. And that's going to be it, y'all. Don't forget that life is short. So read Riley. Cheers and goodbye. We will see you next time.
Bye.